Hey there, and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into something that's way more than just words. We're talking about the music of English. Yeah, you heard that right. It's kind of the secret sauce that makes your speech sound totally natural and really engaging.
So, have you ever had this feeling like your vocabulary is on point, your grammar is perfect, but when you speak, something just sounds a little off? Trust me, it's a super common thing for language learners, and in this explainer, we're going to figure out exactly what that something is. You know, Alina from our source material absolutely nailed it when she said, it's not what you say, but how you say it. This how is the real game changer, and it's all about one little thing called intonation. So, what even is intonation? Well, think of it as the music of the language. It's the natural rise and fall of your voice when you talk. And getting this music right, it's absolutely crucial, because as our source points out, the wrong intonation can accidentally make you sound kind of bored or even a little rude when you totally don't mean to be. Okay, so let's get practical and break this down with some real examples from David and Elena's conversation. First up, we've got questions that start with words like what, where, when, why, and how. You know, the classic WH questions. All right, listen really close to this line from David. He asks, where have you lived? Hear that? Pay attention to what his voice does right at the very end. For these kinds of questions where you're asking for information, your voice is going to naturally go down at the end. Where have you lived? That little drop in your voice signals confidence, and it shows you're genuinely asking for information. So what happens when a question isn't asking for a bunch of information, but just for a simple yes or no? Well, the music changes completely. Now, let's listen to Elena's question, is the rent affordable? Can you hear how different that melody is at the end? Let's take a closer look. Right. This time, instead of falling, the voice goes up. Is the rent affordable? That rising tone is basically a verbal question mark. It's how you signal that you're asking for a yes or a no answer. You're looking for confirmation. Okay, so let's put them side by side. The what question goes down at the end to get information. The yes or no question goes up to ask for confirmation. See, they're both questions, but just by changing the pitch, you completely change what the listener expects you to say next. That is the power of intonation. We've covered questions, but what about when you're listing things? Well, English has a really specific and predictable rhythm for that too. It's a super cool way to guide your listener through what you're saying just by using your voice. For instance, check out this sentence from David. The flat has a kitchen, a bathroom, and a garden. It seems like a simple list, right? But listen again for that clear musical pattern. This is the classic pattern for a list. For each item, your voice goes up a little bit. Kitchen, up again, bathroom, until you get to the very last one. And on that final item, your voice falls. And a garden. That drop is the signal that the list is over. It's like putting a period at the end of the sentence with your voice. All right, let's look at our fourth and final pattern, and this is probably the one you're going to use the most. It's for making a simple, straightforward statement of fact. Listen to how clear and direct this sentence from Elena sounds. I have signed the contract. There's no question about it, right? It's just a fact. And just like with those what questions, the melody here is just a simple falling tone. I have signed the contract. That falling pitch tells the listener that you are certain that this is final. You're not asking, you're not listing, you are just stating a fact. Done deal. Okay, so understanding these patterns is the first step, for sure. But the real magic? That happens when you actually start using them. This isn't just about listening, it's about doing. And the source material gives us a really simple but brilliant way to practice. Just take the script from David and Elena's dialogue, hit the record button on your phone, and try shadowing. It just means you listen to them and then you try to imitate their exact intonation, their exact melody. Seriously, it's one of the best ways to train your ear and your voice. So as we wrap this up, just remember that speaking a language isn't only about stringing words together. It's about creating music. Start listening for these patterns everywhere you go, in movies, in songs, in conversations. And then ask yourself, what melody will you create with your voice today?